Just like all our organs in our body, the brain has a very important role, and one could argue the most important role aside from our heart. Our brain allows us to do simple things in our day-to-day lives, and when we do not take care of our brains, these simple things become very hard. This is what happens when a person is addicted to drugs. When a person gets addicted to drugs, it affects every aspect of their life. It affects every aspect of their body, but it especially affects their mind. How do I know this? As I explained in my last speech, I have watched this firsthand with my brother's addiction to drugs. Drugs can do terrible things to you, but it hurts your mind the most. And today we are going to go through the steps of what drugs truly do to your brain. No matter if a person takes drugs for a short term or a long term, the drugs will affect their mind in some way. Although if somebody was to take drugs for a short period of time, it's not going to seem like they are being affected at all, or if they seem like they are, not as much as a long-term addict. The feeling of a high is all about the substance that you are taking. And it's all about what it is doing to your brain and how your brain is reacting. When we go to the doctors because we are sick, we are prescribed different types of medicines to help whatever sickness we are going through. This can be compared to drugs. Different drugs do different things. The difference is that when we take different medications, we are trying to heal our sicknesses, not just make the pain go away. But when you ask an addict why they take drugs, 99% of the time, they are going to say that they are taking the drugs to make the pain go away. This would be where the different types of drugs come in, depending on the person, the pain, the depression. Some choose to take more hardcore drugs than others. While all drugs affect your brain, the more hardcore the drug, the harder it's going to affect your brain. This hardcore drug, how much you take of it, and how your brain reacts is going to determine the judgment that is affected by the drugs. This would bring us to our first point. According to the article, What Science Tells Us About Opioid Abuse and Addiction, opioids reduce the perception of pain by binding to opioid receptors, which are found in the cells of our brains and in other organs of our body. With opioids having such control over the cells that are found in our brains, this could be very, very dangerous. Not only is the judgment would already be affected, but it's being affected more because it has such control. This allows for dangerous accidents to occur. However, with there being little to no awareness about the pain, the person that is under the influence is not going to realize how big of an accident could occur if they are not careful. This would bring us to our second point. Many people think that overdosing is an accident, when in fact, most of the time it is not. When a person gets so addicted to drugs, they often do not realize how much they are taking or if that amount will hurt them or not. They are focused on making this pain go away. The judgment of the brain is too affected to realize any of this. In fact, in 2019, 70,630 drug overdose deaths occurred in the United States. The age-adjusted rate of the overdose deaths increased by 4% from 2018 to 2019. Why do we do these things? Why does our brains allow us to get so addicted? This would bring us to our first point in this section. When a person first begins to do drugs or has been doing them for long, the brain gets a shock because it's something new. The brain decides that it needs to adapt. Therefore, the overstimulation of the system, which normally responds to natural behaviors that are linked to our survival, like eating, spending time with loved ones, sleeping, etc., produces effects in response of drugs. This reaction sets into motion a pattern that compels some people to repeat this behavior of taking drugs or abuse more drugs. That came from what happens to your brain when you take drugs. Also, brain imaging studies of drug addicts individuals show changes in areas of the brain that are critical to judgment, decision-making, learning, and memory, and behavior control. Together, these changes can drive an abuser to seek out and take drugs compulsively despite adverse consequences. In other words, to become addicted to drugs. No matter the drug, how the drug gets into the body, how you take it, or the time that you spend taking them, they will affect your body, but they will especially affect your mind in some way, and they will hurt your judgment. I have seen someone become completely different because of the way that these chemicals went into their brain and affected them. How do you want to present yourself to others? This is something you should think about before making a decision to take drugs, because even if you think that it is not any longer in your system, the chemicals have still done something to your brain that will make your decision-making process hard. Even if it's a one-time thing, it can still be something that affects your life forever. This is why we should all just say no. Thank you.